Well, my tape ran out, but I'm not finished talking. So I wanted to continue on this theme. So anybody that thinks that's a harebrained idea and just, super liberal to, buy people houses, well, consider the fiscal prudent nature of it and how it is a means to an end to solve a problem. And that's what I'm talking about here. Unless we demand solutions, we're not going to get them. And why is our government responsible to fix the problem? Because they are the biggest enablers, facilitators. So they didn't just allow these problems to unfold for us, they have actually encouraged them. And this is why they are responsible for fixing them. And remember, the poor are taxpayers too, and the money of the poor is worth more than the money of the rich. You can say, well, that doesn't even make sense. Well, that's what Jesus taught. He said when the story of in the synagogue, when all the rich were giving out of their wealth, which was very insignificant for them because they knew they were going to get more wealth. Next week they were going to be richer because of their connections, whatever it may be. Okay, but the poor. Okay, the poor woman, she gave everything she had to live on, a couple of pennies. And she gave in the sight of God. And what's important is the way that we measure things as human beings important. Is that what overrides things? Or is it the way that God looks at things? So what is really the common sense way, the pragmatic way, the practical way to look at things? It's through His eyes. And they're not hidden. He wants us to know His will. So anybody that tells you that, oh, you're talking for God and all, hey, you know what? No, it's all in your Bible. Read your Bible. You can know His will very clearly, and it's going to be established on earth. So you don't want to fight it because it's coming. It's coming. The end of an age is coming, and then a new age is coming. That is what's written in the Bible. So all these people that appear to be following a script out of the Bible, remember, you need to see how it ends. It's good for the righteous and upright, the decent people out there that just want good for everybody. They want freedom and liberty, not for some, just for themselves and their family and friends, but for everybody. To understand this is the only way we're going to ever be truly happy on earth. You can't enjoy your prosperity without it. You can't say, oh, I'm so grateful, God, I'm so bestowing that poor guy, rich. When you're going along, you're a part and parcel of this whole problem. And, myself too. I'm complying to some degree. I spend Federal Reserve notes. I'm stuck in this crap hole too. But we all have to extricate ourselves as much as possible and just do it, kicking and screaming the whole way and hating our lives in this world because knowing this is what's going to bring us happiness. As illogical as that sounds, that's true because the prince of this current world system, this beast system, is no less than Satan or the spirit thereof, the attitude thereof, the intelligentsia thereof. Okay, this mad science and evil genius, that's where it's coming from. That satanic spirit, that divisive spirit that's got us at each other's throats for stupid things. We've got to transcend it, and God is the only one that can give us the wisdom and the wherewithal to transcend it. It doesn't do any good to have all the knowledge of the ages at your fingertips and say, well, I'm so powerful, if you're confused. And that's what happens here. They get us confused. When you're confused, you're effectively deceived. And if you're deceived, your knowledge does you no good. If you're not absolutely certain about how it should be compared to how it is, and say, no, this is not okay. I'm not going to acquiesce. I'm not going to conform to this anymore. I'm going to extricate myself as best as I can from this, and I'm going to teach others to do the same. We've got to get out of this mess so that we can be free and be secure and be prosperous, all of us, so that all the societal problems start drying up. But if we fixate on this little problem, this minutia, that, and this, we're never going to do it. And that's the way it's happening. It's unfolding like we're never going to do it. We're never going to figure it out because I don't hear enough people talking about the root problems. They want to talk about this issue or that issue or this, and it's just going around in circles. But I understand that a lot of people's job depends on the problems too. Look at the mainstream media. How many people are employed? If the problems went away, well, what are we going to talk about? Well, we need sensationalism. We need issues. Okay, we need problems. Okay, and so this is what the people want. They give the people what they want, like that song by the Kinks. Okay? People are perverted. We've got to understand that we're a pitiable, pathetic race at this point. We've got to see things through God's eyes and see what a mess we're in and admit it. It's the first step. Confess the pitiable nature of our existence. We call this a society. We're going to stand before God and say this is civilized, that somehow we've made progress here, when really it flies in the face of reality and truth and justice and mercy and all good things. Okay, it's ridiculous. None of us, we're going to all stand before God without excuse. And I, for one, am not going to do it willingly. I'm going to fight it tooth and nail. I'm going to do the best I can to tell people what I know so that they know what these evil people know. It goes back to another teaching of Jesus, be as shrewd as serpents. And the original meaning of the word shrewd was simply evil. Evil. It didn't mean like it does today, right? It's devolved into meaning, oh, well, you're astute, right? You're sharp. You're smart. You know, you're intellectual, right? If you're shrewd, you're a shrewd businessman. That's how you got to where you are, right? You're just dog-eat-dog, aggressive, right? Social Darwinian, yeah, you know what? Survival of the strongest and all this attitude. That's just feeding the whole satanic beast. We've got to just extricate ourselves from that thinking and say, no, I'm going to be who he wants me to be, who he approves. My mind is going to be clear. I'm going to know how evil these people are. They're evil to the nth degree, much more than I even know. You can't put it into words. Words don't exist to explain the evil people that are running this world right now, and they need to be thrown down in order for us to be free and secure and prosperous. All the problems go away once we do that. In the meantime, if we don't do it, things are just going to get worse. Again, back to the California-fication of the nation. Beware, okay? Beware. I'm telling you how they're going to do it. They're going to trick you into taking more equity out in your house. A little low on money, but yeah, I checked out the going rates for these houses. Hey, look, it's gone up $10,000, $20,000. So, hey, you know what? I'm going to go buy that new car. Okay, you just go in debt. You say, oh, but then you run into trouble. Hey, your wife, finds out you've been looking at porn or something. And she says, well, that's it, man. My husband's been cheating on me. I'm not having this. So, she's gone. And so you're stuck to pay the mortgage by yourself. And maybe you got to force to sell the place so she wants half of the money. Whatever the case may be, you understand how they're going to take your homes. This is what they want. They want this permanent separation, this permanent underclass, and then the landlord class as the tax collectors. I say rent collectors because it's one and the same. That's what the cost of living is. It's a tax. We're not talking about the cost for a VCR or a laptop computer or another luxury item, a cell phone. Okay, we're not talking about those costs. You don't need those things. We're talking about those things that you can't get away from. You need to survive. Primarily housing. This is how it's happening. This causes the chain reaction, inflation. Everybody's scrambling. Say, hey, the landlord just raised my rent $100. What are you supposed to do when you were barely making it before? And you can't get extra hours from work. You can't. The hours don't exist. They're trying to cut your hours to get out of Obamacare. Do you understand? You're taking 2 jobs on minimum wage just to scrape by. And you're scared. It induces a very real, tangible fear in people. That's what financial insecurity breeds. Because if they could take the roof out from under your head, okay, that's the power to destroy you. The power to tax you is the power to destroy you. We've just got to understand how it is being done to us. Be very clear, be very smart, be very shrewd, be very evil, superficially only, okay, because you want to be as innocent as a dove, the way Jesus explained, because he went on. Don't just be as shrewd as serpents. You also have to be as innocent as doves. Just because you have the dark knowledge doesn't mean that you're going to imbibe in it, okay? You're not going to partake in it. You want nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, as the Bible describes. Rather, expose them, okay? Because their day of reckoning is coming. And all those people are on that side of defending the establishment, saying, well, somehow it's okay because this is what I was taught in college and school. This is what my peers, this is what my family says. This is what other people say that I meet. They all say it's okay because they're all part of these special interest groups he's talking about. go along to get along. We've got a critical mass. I mean, rah, rah, 401k, go up in value. They're plugged into the establishment, rooting for the establishment, right? Okay? So the system has to be very careful to walk that tightrope between losing that critical mass, because that's what's already happened in California. It's hitting the fan now, and people are saying no. Locally here in Chico, we've got one officer on the police force, Scott Zuchin, I believe is his name. He's going out. He's doing outreach. This is something I thought was the job of the social welfare, but they're not. They ate my funding. We don't have the funding. I mean, people are on waiting lists for Section 8 housing and all this. So it's boomtown for the landlords out there. Anybody in this industry, I mean, you're making money hand over fist. You can raise your rents. Anybody out there can make a fortune. I mean, I could be fabulously wealthy. I could be like Donald Trump. If I had just say, you know what, screw conscience. I just got to make a lot of money first, make my kids proud, buy a nice house for them, and buy them stuff, and and just be a good dad like Donald Trump, I'm sure, has been to his kids. Well, in my family, they've got a grandpa that's fabulously wealthy. He's a multimillionaire many times over for many years. He's been. This is what I understand. So, my kids are going to be okay. Not that I should even care about that, because it's none of their business. I mean, they're forced into this world like that song by The Doors, like a dog without a bone, riders on the storm. I mean, this is the reality. We got to suck it up. And remember that passage by, who was it? The one that said, let... Victor Hugo, that adversity breeds men, and prosperity makes monsters. I mean, that's the reality of this world. You say, well, that's contradictory to the other stuff you're talking about. It is a paradox. No doubt it is, because I believe in prosperity, but I also believe that, have enough for now. You're stuck in this system. Okay, so having a lot is only going to feed the system. You got to pay more taxes. You got to support the system more and more. So it's a paradox temporarily until we can all enjoy full prosperity. In the meantime, I think it's good that people understand. Go out there and you live on minimum wage. It used to be easy. Why does it keep having to get harder? And why do people want to justify that and say somehow that's okay? Well, you should just, expand your horizons, take another job. Well, who are you? Is the world going to come to a grinding halt if you lost your job? If your industry went down the tubes? Look at the VCR makers. They used to make a fortune. People used to have to rent them. They were so expensive. Why aren't we saying, well, how bad it is that VCRs got cheap and they're out of a job? I mean, this is the kind of stuff we got to start talking about. Discussions, we've got to have discourse on these matters and really be logical and focus on logic and fiscal prudence and what is the right thing to do here when it comes to solving our problems, fixing things once and for all, and understanding things from the right perspective, the right point of view. That's from above. That's the one that gives it. That's the one you want to adopt your perspective and your perception upon. You want to say, how do you want me to view this issue? Let me take the right side on this thing, because I don't want to be deceived. I don't want to end up going to the same place as those hypocrites. It's going to be hell down there. They're going to be miserable. You talk about social Darwinian survival of the strongest. No. It's the strongest of the most. It's survival of the most vile, the meanest, the cruelest, the most murderous ones down there. That's what's going to happen in hell. And you want to avoid that place like the plague. Okay, so you want to jump on the right side here, the side of humanity. It's not the side of the Democrats or the Republicans or the liberals or the conservatives or the communists or the capitalists. It's on the side of humanity. You're for everybody. You believe in equalitarianism. You believe in the Constitution, the right to pursue happiness, that you were born equal, and that God is the one that we're beholden to above all. This is the one we want to be ready to stand before and answer to. In the meantime, back to the critical mass, the system is frantically afraid. They're desperate. They know their time is short, just like Satan knows. These people know too, intuitively, even if they don't, they're not into Satan worship or anything. They've still ignored their conscience. They've still been indifferent and complacent to the unnecessary suffering of other people. And we need to distinguish between necessary suffering, i.e. a natural disaster, accidents, and solvable problems, unnecessary human suffering. That's a solvable problem. It's unnecessary. By nature, We don't need to tolerate it, and if we do, we're going to keep getting more and more. This is tyranny. This is oppression, and it's done through the money. This is how it's happening. This is how it's unfolding. They can turn up the fear gauge like this on the poor and just say, you know what? You either figure out a way, man, if you pull that rabbit out of the hat, you keep paying your ever-increasing rent and your cost of living, or you're going to perish.